Listen, I don't know who need to hear this right now, but in your current situation, what God wants you to understand, you got to know that He is doing things on your behalf. Despite not being able to see it, despite not knowing the direction that God is taking you, you must trust and know that God will provide because God knows your every need. See, when you're going through a lot in your life, you tend to be blinded about the fact that when you're not hearing God's voice, that He's doing something. Do not confuse God's silence as a form of absence because God is working the most on your behalf when you appear not to hear Him. See, the enemy wants you to think that God has left you. The enemy wants you to think that God has forgotten about you. But if you get your mind on knowing and believing that God is my everything, and that if I'm in a situation and all I have is God, then the impossible can happen. You got to know that with man, things may seem impossible. But with God, all things are possible. You have to know, you have to trust, and you have to believe that everything that is going on in your life right now, God could bring good out of. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to talk to God. Don't be afraid to tell God how you feel because the enemy wants to do everything in his power to silence you. Once you show yourself that you have everything that you need, once you allow yourself to believe that it's a me versus me it's a me versus me mentality. I'm my biggest enemy. I'm in my own way. I have to start speaking life. The power of speaking life changes the way that you think. It changes the way that God moves and allows you to fight the lies of the enemy because the enemy wants you to pick up false obligations, which would take you out of God's alignment. Because you got to know, your faith is going to be tested when you can't hear God. And it's your responsibility to hold on to the promises that God gives you because there's no promise that God gives that will fail. God is a man of war. He will always fight on your behalf. God says, for my ways are higher than your ways. For my thoughts are higher than your thoughts as the heavens above the earth. So you got to keep your focus on God. You got to keep trusting God and know that with God, the sky is the limit. In Jesus' name, peace.